Hello, it's Jeff here in the Idea Lab, and I'm going to show you how to make your laser cut clock kit. Yours will look much like mine, although the hands included in your kit may look different. We received a few different kinds of hands, so your hands were just sort of distributed at random. So be aware, your hands may not look just exactly like mine. Neither will your hands, ha ha ha. So here are all the parts for the kit. You've got a large disc. You've got a disc, it's the same diameter, but it's got little notches in it. And you want to be careful when handling this, especially these little parts here. These are pretty fragile, so take care when handling it. Don't pick it up by these or they will snap off. It's not the end of the world if they do, but it's just something to consider when you are putting your clock together. So we've got those pieces. Then we've got all of our numbers here, all the clock numbers, 1 through 12 for your clock. Lovely little Roman numerals here. So we're gonna need all those. You're also gonna have your clock motor, this little thing. This is the clockwork, the mechanism itself. You'll have this little gizmo, which is for hanging the clock. You're gonna have a little pack with a washer and a little nut, and you'll have your clock hands. Mine are silver. Oh no, these are red. So okay, these are red. Yours might be silver, might be black. They might be ornate. They might be simple. You kind of it's luck of the draw, which kind you get. You'll also need to supply a couple things. So you'll need one AA battery to put in the clock motor. You'll need some kind of glue. I'm obsessed with super glue, so I'm using super glue as always. But you can use wood glue. You could probably get away with using craft glue, Elmer's glue. Any kind of glue ought to do the trick, as long as it can make a good bond onto plywood. And optionally, you may want something to tint the numbers with. I mean, you can put the clock together with the numbers just bare wood color like this, but I think it's kind of cool to kind of color them somehow. So you can use markers, you can use colored pencils, you can use crayons, you can use wood stain, you can use paint, anything you like if you decide to color the numbers. I like that, so I'm gonna do that. My pigment of choice today is this big old paint marker that I found. So this is what I'm gonna use to color these numbers. So here we go. Let's start with that, because that sounds fun. I'm just gonna go through and paint all of these. So my paint marker, let's shake it up a little bit here. This step isn't, it's not gonna be the same for everybody, so I'll probably fast forward this. So let's cut to, all of these are painted. Okay, almost done here. As I finish up this process, I wanted to point out you only need to paint the fronts of these numbers, and you can tell which is the front. One side's gonna be very kind of clean looking. The other side is going to have marks on the back from the laser cutting process. So you only need to paint the clean front side of all these numbers. It's best to leave the back side blank, because that's going to help your glue adhere. It's always better to glue unpainted surfaces than it is to glue painted surfaces. Depending on what kind of pigmentation you use, that might not be a big deal, but I think you really only need to paint the front side. So there we go. Oh, I put gloves on because I didn't want to get permanent marker on my fingers. And get it all over the table, but not my fingers. I have to keep my hands all nice and pretty, I guess, for when I'm doing videos like this and showing you all the things. So there's our numbers. Those are painted and ready to go. Just gonna push those up here out of the way for right now. Next thing we're gonna do is glue these two surfaces together. So again, you can see the back side is gonna have some cut marks on it. the front side is going to be nice and clean. The same is true of this disc. We're going to see those kind of cut marks on the back. So we want both of the front sides facing up. And what we're going to do here is we're going to glue these two pieces together just like this. If I set them up like this and align their sides, we want to make sure that the holes line up. We don't want the holes to be, zoom in here, you don't want the holes to be out of center. You want those holes to be perfectly aligned, just like this. That's what we're going for. So if you're using wood glue, you'll probably want to put glue on one surface, and when you're gluing the surfaces, you just want it around this area. You don't want any glue here at the edges, okay? We don't want any glue around the very edges. We just want the glue around the center area, because we need this edge to be clean and free of glue, because we're going to glue something else to it. If it's already got glue on it, then that's going to make the next step kind of tricky. So I'm going to grab my big bottle of super glue. Get it from here. And what I'm going to do, I think, is take this piece. I'm going to spray it down, just for the sake of speeding this video along. I'm going to spray it down with some of my Instaset. This will make my glue dry faster. And I'm going to take my piece here, the back piece, put a little glue on it there. This is super glue, so a little goes a long way. I don't need very much. Your mileage may vary. So take those two halves, press them together. And again, I'm working with super glue, so like I'm just going to be the human clamp here for an instant. I'm going to press down on these. You know, if you're using a different kind of glue, if you're using wood glue or something, it's going to take you longer for that step to dry. And what I would recommend is if you put wood glue or craft glue down to hold these pieces together, lay a heavy book on top of this, or a box, something like a frying pan, you know, something heavy that's going to press these two halves together while you're gluing them up. So, but because I'm using super glue and Instaset, mine is already fused. Those aren't going anywhere. So, good. That's just the way I like it. Next, we need to put in the numbers. So you can see we've got all these little notches, and look at this orientation here. You can see this one right there, that's the number 1. This one right here, that's the number 12. 12 goes at the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, right? So in this orientation, with it at the top, we're gonna grab our number 12, XII, right? And look at how this number wants to just sort of press into that little opening right here. See how it's just the perfect cutout, so that number can press in there just like that. We can also see how, you know, we want it to lay flat against that back piece. See how this wants to rock back and forth? But if I press down just at the bottom serifs here, you can see how there it will lay against that flat piece. So that's pretty cool. That's what we want, is to glue all of these in place there. And again, for the sake of this video and speeding things along, I'm gonna spray Instaset on all of the openings here. Just make this process go a little bit faster. And I'm gonna take my numbers here, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue right along the back side. So I'm going to get my smaller super glue bottle here. So right along the back here, zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. I just need a little bit of glue. Whoop. I think my glue bottle's clogged. Hang on one second. Put another, got a fresh tip for this. brush tip. There we go. So just a little bit of glue right along this bottom edge, just like that. See, zoom in a little more. See what I got going on there? Just that little bit of glue. I'm gonna just go ahead and lay that in. Press that down. And I've got Instaset on, so I don't really need to clamp this for very long. And there you can see how we've got that number in there. So let's do some more. We've got the number 1. It's just I. A little bit of glue along the back. Press that in place. Now we want the number 2. 2 eyes. A little bit of glue. Press that into the groove. Okay, now the number 3. 3 eyes. Come on. There we go. Four. Oh. Hold that for a little bit longer. There we go. Now 5 is just V. A little bit of glue right on the bottom there. Six. There's that. 8. VII. Go. 9. Whoops. There we go. Nope, that's not it. Gotta find the right one here. There it is. That's what we want. It's like a puzzle. It's like a puzzle if you're like me and you're bad with Roman numerals. If you're good with Roman numerals, if you've spent enough time in your life staring at a clock, this will be very straightforward for you. And 11. Okay, got all those placed. Now, give your glue time to dry. Don't rush it, you know? Just Take your time with this. So I'm going to give, I know I used Instaset, but for demonstration purposes, and so that I have a second to clean out my glue nozzle here, I'm going to pause, and we'll come back to this in a minute when this is fully cured. Okay, we're back. From here on out, we want to handle this gingerly, and wherever possible, we want to pick it up by the center of the disc and not by the numbers, because the numbers are only glued on by a small amount of area, right? So they're decorative and not structural. So we want to be careful with this by only picking it up from the disc. So now we're going to put in our clock mechanism. So this has got a top and a bottom. If we flip our clock over with 12 at the top, whoop, like this, to give you a sense of orientation, this is roughly how we want this to be placed. Okay, it's okay if it's not placed that way, because it's going to work the same no matter what orientation it is. But just for the sake of like putting it together and hanging it, it's best if it's facing this direction. So we're going to open up our little bag with our hardware in it here. There we go. We've got a rubber washer for gripping. We've got a metal washer, and we've got a nut. I'm not sure if you need the rubber washer, but I don't think it hurts. So what I would say is you first put on this metal hook like this, see? And the metal hook just kind of sits flush like that. Then I'd say pop on your rubber washer just like that. And then this whole assembly is going to feed through the opening in the clock just like this. Okay, see how that presses in there? I'm going to carefully reverse this. Okay, and I'm not gonna use this washer. I don't think it's necessary. You can try to use it if you want. Well, yeah, okay, all right. Don't listen to me. Let's use it. So we're gonna drop that washer on there. I think we'll still have enough clearance to take our nut and get that threaded. So we're gonna just take that nut and thread that onto here. Okay, and you can probably get away with this just being finger tight, honestly. This doesn't have to be crazy tight. But if you want to bear down on it with pliers, I would just grab some like needle nose pliers here. And I would just carefully hold the, zoom out here, just carefully hold the clock assembly, hold the whole thing by that clock assembly, and then just use your needle nose pliers, or any kind of pliers really, just to tighten that up. Just a little bit. I mean, you don't want to tighten it up overkill. These little clock mechanisms aren't not rated for a lot of torque. So that's on there. So now let's put on our hands, the clock hands. These are pretty cool the way these work. These just press on. Pressing them can be a little nerve-wracking, especially when you've got these fragile elements sticking out. But I'm going to start with all the pieces kind of facing up here. Oh, just one second. That was my phone. So, all right, yes. See how the hour hand, that goes on first. And if you take a close look here, you can see how you've got a large shaft, large diameter. You've got a smaller diameter shaft there. Ooh, I'll use one of these as a pointing implement. So right there, large shaft, then smaller shaft, and in the very middle you got that tiny metal peg. So that's hour hand, minute hand, and then the tiny peg is for the second hand. So we're gonna start with the hour hand, and we're just gonna use our fingernails to press that down into place. So you see what we've got there. Sort of try to tilt this up so you can see. See how that is? Just a press fit. Okay. Now let's do the minute hand. Again, it's just press to fit. There we go. And you can just kind of manually tweak those to get those pointed straight up. And then our second hand, got a little hole there, and that just is gonna plug right onto that shaft. So just put that in, press it straight down, and there we have it. Our clock hands are all in. So what's missing? We just need that battery. Got a AA battery here. Flip this around. Gotta make sure I put it in the right way. There we go. And already time is ticking away. Just like that. The beauty of a clock, to tell us about the time that we don't have. When you want to set the time, little knob on the back here. Ooh, you can see the little gears spinning. That's kind of fun. Too bad you don't get to see that part of the clock. This little wheel on the back, when we turn that wheel, we can adjust the time. So let's see, right now it's 6:52 and some completely arbitrary number of seconds. So just turn this wheel. So there's 6:50. We'll call that 1, 2. Boom. Beautiful. What a pretty clock. What a nifty thing. I don't know, I really like this one. Don't be surprised if you see this hanging up in the Idea Lab, because it's just too cool. So, anyway, enjoy your kit. If you have any questions or anything, just shoot us an email, and we'll help out however we can. Thanks again for watching my video and for enjoying the Idea Lab. I'll see you next time.